Ah, well, hello there, fraud friends and family. Listen, it's getting close to March Madness, basketball season. So let me ask, how many of you will be sitting in front of your computer when you're supposed to be working with the basketball games playing on a side screen? That's the only question I have for you today. If you like March Madness and you like the frenzy of it all, you're going to want to tune in today because, well, I say this every week, but this story is really crazy. Are you ready? Let's go.
Welcome to the Friday Fraudster podcast. Join them as they discuss sad, funny, and sometimes disturbing fraud stories. Be sure to catch past episodes on your favorite podcasting platform or go to www.fridayfraudster.com.
All right. Hey, welcome everybody. We are back. Happy Friday. I'm assuming that that's Stephanie. So happy Friday, everyone. Back for the Friday Froster. And without any other fanfare, I'm just gonna bring them up. It's been a while. I think the last episode we did was on December like the 15th, and then I just got tired. Needed a break.
I was noticing the opening video there, Rob. It looks like you were about 20 years younger than you are now.
Thomas is taking a minute for me to see him, though. Never fails.
It's the hair, man. It's the hair, and then it's the gray.
Yeah, it's the gray. It's the gray is what it is.
Yeah. Oh boy, it is the gray. That's for sure. I thought about coloring it, and then I was just like, that would be committing fraud. So just like. Mark, good afternoon. Hey, Mark, I've got to text you about something, man. You already know what it is, but I got to text you. And Jay is here, my man, Jay. Jay, tell your wife happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Mark says, what a great looking crew. Mark, you know what? It's even better when you're here, man. We can do the gray beard thing together. We can be the gray beards. Okay. So without further ado, let's just get started here. So it's almost February 2026. That's 1 month of the new year is almost gone, right? So it's getting close to March Madness, where everybody in every workplace gets a bracket that they fill out because they gamble a little bit on basketball. Thomas, Christine, do you all participate in the March Madness brackets?
With my family.
Oh.
Not at all. None.
Really?
I avoid it completely. Yep. Yeah, so growing up, my parents didn't really go to college. A lot of my family didn't go to college, and I was the oldest in the family. So it's not like we were big fans of one specific college. So never really got into college sports. And then just as I got older, I went to Sam Houston State. They've made the dance a couple of times, but they're never expected to do, much. So no, just never got into it. I'm one of the few.
I never really got into it either because it's just one of those things. I don't like gambling away my money with things that I can't, at least try to shift my way.
That
you're saying if you could influence the score a little bit, then you'd have no problem, putting some money on the line.
I mean, I didn't say that directly. Now, did I? I mean, but think about it though. Think about it. If you go to a casino and you play blackjack or any other type of card game, you at least have some sort of influence over the outcome. Granted, some of it is just luck of the cards, but you at least have to have some skill. If you bet on a March Madness bracket, you don't really have any control over anything that happens.
Yeah, it's just a guess. I mean, what is it? I think it's ESPN or one of those. They'll kind of show how many brackets are still 100% accurate, and by the last game, either none or like only a handful are actually still accurate. it's just so random for who makes the finals and who wins it.
So it's not that you want to be able to manipulate the outcome. You only like betting if you know that the odds are in your favor. Is that what you're saying, Rob? Or are you talking about like conducting fraud?
Yeah. No, I mean, if the odds are in my favor, if I could do anything to increase my odds of winning, those are the times. So, like for example, I don't get people who go to the casino and play slot machines. That's just random luck. Poker takes a little bit of skill. Blackjack takes a little bit of skill, but slots are just, I mean, I don't know, just pulling a lever.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. Like, I like blackjack.
Yeah, me too. Love me some blackjack.
I even like roulette, but there's still some strategy. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's some strategy you can do in roulette to make your odds better. I'll always at least put $1 on 34. Just got to.
I mean, according to Wesley Snipes, you always bet on black. So,
Thomas, do you have a favorite game?
Three card poker. But even that, you're not playing against really anybody. It's more of just, are you going to have 3 good cards or not? But when I go to like Vegas or something like that, or even we used to do cruises a long time ago, and I would go into the casino there, we would have a certain budget amount of cash that we were going to spend, and it was just entertainment. We did not walk in expecting to walk out with a dime. It was just an entertainment reason. So, yeah, 3-card poker, I guess, was mine. That was the one. I like some Texas Hold'em every once in a while with the guys, but it's been a very long time since I had a game together. I need to do that again.
Gotcha. So I guess it's safe to say that most of us won't be participating in the March Madness brackets. What about you, Mark, Stephanie, Jay? Are you guys going to participate in the March Madness brackets? Because here's the thing. So every year there's usually some sort of a surprise, right? And I am a sucker for a Cinderella story. So every year I kind of want the kid that was from the school no one ever heard of to kind of step back, take this 3-pointer that ruins everybody's Saturday night. And I think that's why we watch. Because I think it's the last place where we still have some pure competition. What do you think? You don't think so?
I was going to disagree with you on that about the pure competition part, but it reminded me there's some random guy on Twitter, and the name on his account is SFA, which is Stephen F. Austin, has never lost to Duke in basketball. It's like Duke is this powerhouse of basketball. SFA is just like my alma mater, Sam Houston, a very small school, just almost middle of nowhere, and yet they've never lost to Duke. I assume that is correct, but so yeah, the spirit of competition, rooting for the underdogs, rooting for the small school against the mega schools. Yeah, I agree. It could definitely be fun to see, but at the same time, Sam Houston would drive into College Station every year to play Texas A&M at football, and they were doing it for the money because you had no chance of winning that game ever.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing. So these kids, though, they play for the love of the game. If you think about it, we have this image of these kids. They're like 18, 19, 20 years old, and they're playing for the school on their jersey. They're playing maybe for a chance to join the NBA. And again, they're supposed to be playing for the love of the game. They are not making any money. And so I think that purity is kind of what makes the money flow. If you really look at it, people pay a lot to attend college basketball games, and they make a lot of money during the March Madness season. It's billions of dollars, but the kids, they ultimately don't get paid. Now, that may or may not be perceived as fair to them, but I think when you have people who love what they're doing and they're playing for the love of the game, it ends up making a better sport. Think about the NFL. Back in the day, they would hit really hard. They would give it their all. But now they make so much money. You can see the little princess. Well, some of them, not all, right? But you can see the differences in the way that they play nowadays.
No, I mean, and I definitely think there's some drive. I also think the drive of wanting to be the best, but now you've got your NIL number or NIL money. So now the better that you are, right? The more, it's almost probably the more money you make in college, the more likely you'll probably get picked up by a professional league. And it doesn't have to be a US league either. I mean, there's leagues in Germany, and I mean, I know one of the friends that I grew up with, she did volleyball overseas after she got done with college. And that's what her profession was for a few years.
Okay. So now Jay says, I like the 16s beating the ones, but I wouldn't bet on it. And then Mark and Stephanie say they have no clue about basketball. And Mark also agrees with Jay, though. Love to see the underdog win. It's just a shock. Now, Mark is asking, so wait, basketball is not doing NIL like football is? Yes, basketball is doing NIL. But I think, so, okay, here's my take on it, though, Mark. Not everybody's getting the money, right, from NIL. If you look at a professional team, everybody's getting paid. As a matter of fact, the minimum in the NFL is what, $200,000 a year, or is it 300 now? It's either $200,000 or $300,000 a year in the NFL. So everybody's getting paid. Whereas with the NIL, only the really good players are really getting paid.
Same with baseball.
Well, I swear my husband was, yeah. I swear my husband was telling me there is a guy who is going back. It might be basketball. He is going back to college after, because he didn't use his 4 years of eligibility in college. His NBA career kind of might have dried up. So now he's going back and getting NIL money through the college that he's playing.
And imagine that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome for him. Now, Jay says, I miss the NBA days when they would do WWE finishers during the game for a clean defensive move. Right? Remember when you would take a charge in basketball? I mean, it just, yeah.
Now you just look at LeBron and he falls. I mean, random players and they just fall.
Well, the wind blows and LeBron falls, right? I mean, so Shri is here. Shri says, happy Friday, everyone.
Hey, Shri.
Nice to see everyone. Happy Friday, Shri.
So he was on the G League for the Spurs in 2023. And judge granted a temporary restraining order against NCAA eligibility rules. So he'll be going back to the Crimson Tide January 2026. So this month.
Very interesting.
How does that work? A temporary restraining order on rules? I give up trying to figure it out.
Well, like college kids that realize they're making more money playing in college because they'll either not have a professional. Sorry, I feel like I'm getting off topic now.
Mark says, what's the deal with 9,000 years of college eligibility now? Right? That is hilarious. Okay. So now with all of this March Madness talk, I know everybody's like, Robert, I know it's been a while, but are we going off tangent? No, we're not. We always tie everything back to the topic. I'm a little bit rusty and a little bit old, so sometimes I forget certain things, but no, let's get to it. Our story today starts not in a locker room, but in a storage unit in Florida. You see, on January 15th of just this year, the Department of Justice unsealed a massive indictment in the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. They charged 26 people, 20 of them were actually basketball players, with a scheme that spanned multiple continents. And I know what you're thinking, 20 players? That's not really a rogue athlete here or there. That's an entire league, right? So, and here's the deal. The masterminds weren't even in the stadium. They weren't even players on the court. They weren't even in the stadium. These guys were high stakes, quote unquote, influencer gamblers. They started in 2022 by infiltrating the Chinese Basketball Association, the CBA. So here's what they did. they recruited a former NBA player, Antonio Blakeney. Now, mind you, these are all allegations now. So nobody's guilty just yet. These are allegations. So allegedly they recruited him and he was playing for a team in China. They paid him over $200,000 to shave points. So what that is, and if you don't know what that is, essentially what that means is they were paying him to play well enough to keep his spot in position, but to make sure that the team didn't win by too much. Let me see. Let me see if I can put it another way, because not everybody's going to be familiar with what that is, right?
Right. I think I also saw that sometimes it was also they were supposed to lose by a certain amount or more than a certain amount. So it wasn't just win; it was also on the losing side as well, trying to get the number just right.
Yes,
the
absolutely. Okay, so the way that works is when you bet, you can bet a few different ways. So let's talk about this. Say if a team is a 10-point favorite to win, that means that they have to win by 11 points in order for your bet to win. So if you bet on a team to win and the spread is 10 points, they have to win by 11 points in order for you to actually win.
Okay.
So you don't need the player to lose the game. You just need him to play slightly worse. And if his team is so again, if his team is favored to win by 8, he just needs to make sure that they win only by 6 if you're betting against the spread, right? So you can bet for the spread or against the spread. So what these dudes were doing is they were doing what we would call the halftime fix, according to the indictment. So the indictment says that they loved betting on the first half spread. Now, why would they do that, you might ask? Because a player can play like garbage for 20 minutes, right? And then once he gets the fix in, he can then turn around and play like a superstar in the second half to win the game. So it looks like, he or she had a bad start and then they end up making the spread or missing the spread for the first half. And then second half, they come out playing really, really well. And so it looks like he just got a pep talk by the coach in the locker room at halftime. So that's what they like to do, and that's what they set up. And allegedly, they gave him $200,000, and they put it in a locker in a storage unit in Florida.
That's so random. A locker in a storage unit in Florida. It's just so random to me.
Right? Isn't it crazy?
I guess how else would they do it, though? They have to worry about wire transfer or wire charges then that way if they're not transferring it between their accounts, right?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And cash is much harder to trace than electronic.
Well, and you know what? I guess to that extent, could you still get someone for wire fraud, Christine, if it was cash?
I don't think so. Let me double check. My brain's running a little slow today, everybody. I want to say you can't because it's not using the payment system rails. Like it's not like an actual wire transfer. It's not being done ACH.
But here's the bigger question then. I don't think you can. I think the answer to that is no. I'm not 100% certain. But here's the deal. Couldn't you still get them for conspiracy to commit wire fraud?
Potentially. I mean, if I didn't have that, then I would get them on tax evasion. Because you also have to claim your winnings on your taxes, even if it was, even if it was obtained through illicit means.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. Now, Stephanie says it sounds like a TV movie, right? The Netflix will be out next year. Yeah. The Netflix special will definitely be out next year.
So it does not require the money itself to move electronically. So it just needs to be a scheme to defraud, use of interstate or foreign wires, and intent to defraud.
Oh,
Can
wow.
include text messages, phone calls, email, social media, online betting platforms, Yeah, I guess. Yeah, sounds like yeah.
Oh, wow. Now, here's where it gets even better or worse, depending on which side of the fence you sit on. They also betted allegedly on individual stats. So, for example, will player X score more than 15 points? Now, if player X is in on the fix, all he needs to do is just stop shooting once he scores 14 points, and then he has 100% control over the outcome of this bet.
And I could see them rationalizing it away in their head. You know, my team won or lost. Like if they're supposed to lose by 15 points and they lose by 10 points, they still lost. So in their mind, they're not impacting the results of the game by doing that. Now, talking about your own points, that's a little bit different. If you stop scoring, you're hurting your team. But if your team is down by 20, then you scoring or not might not even matter at that point. So I can see how they could, as a student athlete, they could rationalize it.
Right.
Yeah. But now, okay, so
go ahead.
So up to this point, though, I just said it happened in China for the most part, right? It happened in China. So surely this couldn't happen anywhere else outside of China, right?
Because Chinese people love going to Florida and getting bags out of lockers.
Right.
And then go over to Disney World.
Yeah.
So who couldn't see this next part coming? So the scheme moved from China to allegedly 17 schools in the U.S., including DePaul, Georgetown, and Florida Atlantic. Allegedly, they fixed or tried to fix about 29 games. So how did no one see this coming? Like, you know?
I just think there's a lot of people involved. How did it not come up sooner?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's because everybody part of it was making money.
Yeah. I mean, if everybody is making money, then yeah. Now, back to a point Mark said earlier, though, about isn't basketball doing NIL? Check this out. So I believe that NIL had something to do with this because the fixers specifically targeted players who didn't have big names. They didn't have big name, image, and likeness deals either. So if a kid's a star, he's already rich, so he's probably not going to participate in this. But if he's a starter on a mid-major team, you know, getting zero NIL money, $200,000 to miss 2 jump shots is really life-changing.
Yeah.
Well, I think they were actually only giving the students like 10 or 20,000, which is still a lot of money for a college student.
Yeah.
I say a college student, shoot, pay me $20,000 to miss a jump shot. Happy to do it.
I mean, you wouldn't even have to pay me 20 to do it. I'd do it just because I got no game. But
I was gonna say because I'd miss anyway.
Now, Mark is asking a really good question, right? How did they move the money to get to the storage locker?
A Pinto. Sorry.
I mean, my guess would be that it was probably smuggled in with some other goods from China. So okay, let me just dig a little deeper into that. You guys do know that a lot of the fentanyl in the US comes from China, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So if they can get fentanyl in, they can definitely get 200,000 in cash in.
I mean, money, we know money gets moved between countries all the time. There is no way that is all being caught.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, Rob, I know you've done international travel. I've done international travel for business. They never check to see, how much cash is on you. They say, do you have more than X amount of cash? No. Okay, that's fine. And you move on. I mean, Yeah, it would be very easy to move cash around that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Stephanie has it semi right. It's not a fake Louis Vuitton bag. It's a fake Louis Vuitton teddy bear.
Yeah.
Oh
We
man.
need to revisit that story. I want to. Did we ever find out the verdict and how long, if anybody was in prison for that?
Oh, I don't remember. I need to find this. For those of you listening who aren't aware, we had one story where people used a bunch of money to buy a Louis Vuitton teddy bear. That's a waste of good money.
I'll see if I can find it for you.
Okay. So now, here's the big thing. Up to this point, we've talked about this fixing of basketball games started with the Chinese Basketball Association, started over in China, right? Then it migrated to the US to college players. The people who allegedly were the ringleaders were targeting players who were not getting name, image, and likeness money in college. So they were broke college students. They were giving them about $10,000 to fix games. They weren't fixing the entire game. They were typically trying to bet against the spread. Okay, but now here comes the big question. How in the world did they get caught? So here's what I'm wondering. Anybody want to guess how they got caught? Now, Christine and Thomas, you already know. And while I'm asking that question, Mark says, was looking for the wire fraud component, but if not, it would be undeclared if they can show it was coming in. Trace back. So the other question is, how would you go about catching this? That's the funny part. Like if you suspected this was happening. So I was a chief auditor in higher education, right? Never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined that this would have happened on a college campus. A lot of other things I saw happen, but this one is kind of hard to really fathom until it actually happens.
So if you go down to the granular level, go down to the school level, college students, most college students, I know as a college student, I was this way. If I had cash, I was spending cash. Like if I had $10,000 suddenly, show up, I would be spending quite a bit of it on, various things. Back in the day, it was buying new DVDs or upgrading my computer or that sort of thing. So that's as a coach, or someone that's on staff, that's what I'd be watching for. If a no-name, guy maybe coming off the bench or something, all of a sudden starts having a little bit of extra cash, and they're not making any NIL money, that's a red flag you should be watching for. So that's the first spot I go is the granular level.
Very true.
I would do the same. I think it's depending on the data that you have, is what are the abnormalities. Like I also don't know, like, because I'm not known, I don't know a whole lot about sports betting, but like I would probably sit here and say, what data could I actually look and view at? What is a normal course of action over the last several years? But then like I would even sit here and go, do you also have to worry about the betting fluctuating dependent upon the teams and their projected performance for the year? So like, do you know what I'm saying? Like we could see ebbs and flows for people betting against Georgia, depending upon what coach they have, what their team is looking like. Can you find that correlated data and then utilize that to determine if there's any outliers that you should look at closer?
Okay.
I would argue that you wouldn't be able to. I'm assuming, because if you could, then you could use that exact same data to be more successful with betting.
Ooh, that's a good point. So now I asked, how do you think they got caught? Mark says somebody didn't get paid, right? Angry participant. Okay, so let's talk about this for a minute. Um, hmm. One of the alleged ringleaders, he didn't just stay in the shadows and collect his money. He was a quote unquote sports influencer on Instagram under the name of Benzino Locks. And he was literally selling pics to the public that were based on the games that he was allegedly fixing. And so the FBI started following his social media, cross-referencing his guaranteed wins with unusual betting volume. So he would go out and pick who was going to win the game, and he was telling it to people on Instagram, and his picks would come true. And because he's not a psychic or clairvoyant, the data just didn't add up. How can you pick this many that are right? And so now that's one part of it. But the FBI really didn't start with this case. I don't know if you guys remember last year when they arrested 34 people in different NBA, National Basketball Association, professional basketball, in a gambling ring that included Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups. So while the FBI was digging through the phones of those guys, they found a text message from someone else that was involved in this college one. And that text message was pretty interesting. It said, "Nothing is guaranteed in this world but death, taxes, and Chinese basketball." And that was referring to their initial success in fixing games in the Chinese Basketball Association before moving to the NCAA, the college National College Athletic Association.
Well, like, what was the first thing that ever? And I'm not saying I didn't know about sports betting, fraud, or anything else, but I always remember, what is the book, Freakonomics, where they talk about like how crazy sumo wrestling is with fixing things.
Yeah.
So like, I'm guessing, I mean, at this point, if somebody said, hey, in the youth World Series of baseball, we've got this going on and we're paying off parents, I honestly wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, very true.
Yep.
Well, okay. So here's where it gets even more interesting, though, because we know from years of data from the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners that most fraud is actually caught because of a tip. So I guess that old adage of snitches get stitches is really not true because everybody's snitching, right? Now, here's what happened. The National Collegiate Athletic Association, they quietly launched an anonymous integrity tip line. And so several players who were approached by the fixers, but they didn't take the actual bribe, they reported them. And so the FBI, they set up this layered integrity monitoring on over 22,000 contests in college sports. So that's how it all came to light.
That's just crazy. Like, I would think your whole entire thing is over the first person you ask that says no.
Yeah.
Right?
Or I'd be stressing. Would you guys?
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Oh, and didn't I see that it was something like 39 games total that they were in on as far as like the NCAA? So that's not a lot of games. Over
more than 39 players.
Yeah, it was 39 players, or was it?
Did you say 29 games? I'm sorry if I misheard you.
I'm looking now to see the look at the number again. I don't remember off the top of my head. I saw it. Could have sworn it was in the article. How many games was it?
29.
29. Okay.
Fixed or attempted to fix more than 29 NCAA games. So that's not including I'm guessing the one from the Chinese, the CBA.
Yeah. So like 29 games is not a lot of games. I mean, that's just, to me, that seems so small. In a way, they were being smart because, the more games they do, the more people that know, the higher the risk is that someone's going to talk. But yeah, I'd be paranoid. You're right. The first person that said no, I'd be like, well, they're going to be snitching on us, or hey, I'll give you half of my money if you don't tell anybody. Yeah, I guess, but yeah, that'd be rough.
Either of you know what the average amount was that they were betting?
That I didn't see, but you want to hear something else very, very crazy about this situation? So oftentimes when people are committing crimes and doing things wrong, they start to get cocky after a certain point in time. Now, these guys got so cocky that they would actually FaceTime the players during pregame warmups to confirm that they were going to do what they said that they were going to do. And so the FBI started intercepting those calls.
Like by a wiretap? Like, can they see them and everything? Like, I wonder, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I always think of a wiretap, you can hear the conversation. Do they get to like see it when they wiretap those like video calls?
That's a good question, because I'll tell you. So I don't know if I told you guys before, but I went to the FBI Citizens Academy where they showed you a lot of stuff on the back end. And so we got to go into one of those rooms. I think it's called a skiv. We got to go into one of those rooms where all cell phone activity is blocked and stuff like that. So they started talking to us about why they go in there, and they start doing some of that intercepting of calls in locations like that. And believe it or not, they can hear everything, like everything. So I don't know about video calls now. Can you actually see everything? That's a good question.
Yeah.
So I found in one of them, it looks like this was one game. They placed at least approximately $100,000 in wagers with numerous sports books, including a $50,000 wager with Bet River Sportbook at Rivers Casino in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, on one of the players to cover the spread.
Wait, say that again?
So I think it looks like in one game. So on or about March 15th, 2023. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Or the team's name from the Golden Bulls, so the CBA, played against the Dragons in a game in China. The Golden Bulls was favored to win the game by approximately 15 points at sports books throughout the United States and elsewhere. Before the game, one of the defendants blatantly advised defendants so-and-so and so-and-so that he would not be playing, and that another player who would be playing in the game would accept a bribe payment to help ensure that the Golden Bulls covered the spread. The two defendants and others working at their direction placed at least approximately $100,000 in wagers for just that one game.
Oh, now you bring up a really interesting point. So think about this. Somebody could get sick the day before a game, or you could have somebody, look, I played sports when I was young. You sometimes get excited and the adrenaline starts to rush and all the testosterone starts feeding you, and you could start just playing really, really well and momentarily forget about this bet that you've made. So let me tell you what they did to ensure against that. Allegedly, they didn't just bribe one player. They used at least two, and they had like a two-man insurance policy, though. So they would often pay two different players on the same team without telling them about each other. Now, that can also get kind of funny, right? So in one game, when they were over in China, they realized that they had too much insurance. Actually, one of the alleged ringleaders texted the other one, and he texted back and said, better safe than sorry, because if one player got benched for playing poorly, the second player would be there to pick up the slack, or I guess not pick up the slack, right?
Yeah, there was another one that they bet at least $195,000 on the game. And yeah, they had two players, both scoring, one scoring 3 points total, the other 5 points. One of them didn't score at all in the second half, but they weren't able to be successful with it. So, and the text message that was, hey, I tried. So yeah, he purposely didn't score in the second half of the game, trying to cover the spread. So yeah, but yeah, on that one as well, like you said, there's two different teammates that were working together on that one.
Yeah. Now think about this though. Essentially, if you're taking a bribe from these ringleaders, you are almost like an employee of theirs, right? So you're gonna get a performance evaluation. Let me give you an example before you start laughing. This is where I'm going with it, right? Think about it. The players are technically employees of the gambling ring, and so you get performance reviews. But these were actually brutal. So check this out. One player at a college accidentally started playing too well and actually trying to win. That's when one of the fixers started blowing up his phone and he said, WTF, it needs to be a blowout. You hooping your ass off, WTF, you supposed to be effing losing, you costing us money. Get your ass blown out next half, bro.
If I received that text message, I'd be worried that somebody was waiting outside to break my knees after I got done playing.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Because you don't know how many people are part of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was another one. It was $424,000 on Kent State. Yeah, they just kept. That's what it was. Is as the time went on, just like with any fraud, the amount of money just kept escalating for their bets.
I always wondered, the guys that they got as part of this scheme, the players or whatever, do you think at any point any of them were like, you know what, I could blackmail these guys for more money every single time I'm throwing this game?
Nah.
You don't think so? They just went with it?
Yeah. Because if you think about it, these gentlemen had a lot of money and they were paying you a lot of money, but also the fact that they had a lot of money means that they had enough to take care of you if they really needed to, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, and you don't know who's involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm rewatching the incredible TV series Daredevil right now, and during one of the seasons, the FBI is corrupt, and some of them are working for the villain. And as everything is getting unveiled, you don't know who's a good guy, who's a bad guy, who's all of that, who's been corrupted. And I could see that being the same thing. You don't know, you can go to a school official even, or a coach. You don't know if they're part of the same scheme.
Well, I mean, one of the guys appears to not be in jail right now and still living his wonderful life, promoting his sports betting.
Yep.
Well, he clearly knows how to win. And who is this guy? What's his Twitter?
It's Venzino Locks. He has a video he created back from 2025, speaking up about the Sports Illustrated, I guess, article that is about this whole entire thing and how he's being misunderstood. It looks like he's got his own brand.
Of course. Wow.
All right, so let's think about this. If we're thinking about risk and controls, and again, I used to be a chief auditor in higher education for about 15 years. And one thing that I used to do is I used to sit down and think about what could happen. And I've got to say, never in my wildest imagination would I thought would I have thought that someone would have run a black market name, image, likeness scam. I never in a million years would that one have come up on my radar. But now as I'm thinking, I'm like, what controls could have been in place to prevent and or detect this? And there were only a few things that that I could think of. And one of the big ones is you've got a data failure. And so what I mean by that is sports books, they have a lot of data, but they don't always share their data with the NCAA. So the NCAA can't necessarily track trends. Now, the NCAA has individual stats on players, and they also do have win-loss records, but I don't think it's correlated enough to say, okay, what was the betting spread during this time period when these games were played? And that's a piece of the data that's not there that would be very, very helpful. You know what I mean?
Do you think it would be helpful if, so like I think about financial institutions and we have what's called this 314B capabilities for like fraud and stuff. What if the sports bettors had their own system where as they get some of these larger bets that are coming through, they're going to know who the bets are made from, right? That it's a collective, it like ingests it and then would red flag it out to them saying, hey, FYI, this one person has put this amount of money on this specific wager, and we've got 5 different sporting platforms that have that same bet from that same individual.
Here's the problem with that, though, right? You would have to get them to volunteer to do it because right now they have so many laws that they have to follow. And if you think about the way sports betting works, you aren't going to volunteer hardly anything. Like you're going to have to. So now you got to pass another law, which takes years, and it would probably be squashed in Congress because of lobbies and stuff like that, right?
Or would they just not want it because they don't want that type of oversight? Because it be something that pushes it to become illegal. Like, is that what they're worried about?
Oh no, that's a good point. Yeah, that's another point. Yeah, that's very possible.
And if you pay attention to movies, you know, every casino has a mob tie, right? So how do we know that they don't have their hand doing something similar, just more formally?
And that goes to what Jay said. Many will also threaten their families. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was waiting to pull that one up. But okay, but now let's think about this another way too. So there was a little bit of social engineering that had to happen in order for this to be able to take place because the quote unquote fixers, the guys who were coordinating this, they were not strangers. They were alumni, they were former players, they were independent trainers. So these are people who already knew the players. They already had some sort of gravitas and legitimacy. So they walked right past security because they played there 5 years ago or because they donated money to that college. So there were no controls to really monitor who the athletes were talking to on their social media, via text, or who was training them. So that's one thing there. You had the social engineering that kind of occurred.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I think with the technology now, we're seeing how well AI is getting the platforms I'm sure that they have for monitoring this. I don't think it's ever going to stop. I just think it's going to help uncover it faster and hopefully also give law enforcement the necessary documentation to start prosecuting faster. Because I mean, some of these that we've talked about historically over the years, like it was all of a sudden this was happening for how long until it was uncovered, and it was 2 or 3 years later that the federal government was finally pressing charges.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of time to get that evidence together, I'm sure. But yeah, you're right, Christine. Yeah, you wish you could be caught a lot quicker, yeah, move a lot faster, or at least identified where they can start the investigation earlier.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I told you guys this one was going to be a little crazy, right? Can you imagine fixing college basketball games? And I mean, it's happened before, but the way that they did it this time, allegedly, is very it has a lot of ingenuity surrounding the way they did it this time. But I'm with you, Christine. I think you said earlier, how in the world were they able to really spread it out to that many folks and get that many people involved?
It's a lot of lockers.
Okay. So now let's talk about the potential charges, because there's a whole list of people. They range from age 24 up to age 40. But so the alleged fixers: bribery in sporting contest. I didn't know that that was an actual crime on the books, right? Conspiracy to commit wire fraud. That's our favorite. And then wire fraud. And then let's see, bribery in sporting contests. I said that. That's what most of the alleged fixers are being charged with. You got someone else, conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Looks like most people have conspiracy to commit wire fraud as well as bribery in sporting contests. And then a few were actually charged with wire fraud. For example, Sugar Shane, a guy named Sugar Shane, was charged with 3 counts of wire fraud, 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, and 1 count of bribery in sporting contests.
Yeah.
So do you think these guys are going to see jail time if they're found guilty?
Oh. You know, I think so. Here's why, though. I think that this is the first time that this has happened. And so at some point, you got to make an example out of somebody. And I think that they might be trying to do that for the first time. But also, I think it will hinge on what happens, even though it shouldn't, but it'll hinge on what happens with the trial for the NBA, for the National Basketball Association. So if something very bad happens, well, I shouldn't say it that way. If the individuals accused in the NBA trial are convicted, I think that that might lead to a conviction here too, because now you have a precedent.
True.
Makes me wonder with how many people are in there. Who knows? There might be a few that'll get off if they're willing to turn. If they sit here and go, I will tell you everything if I get probation for 5 years.
Yeah, I can see that happening.
But
I mean, especially if you think about it, 2022, 2023 is when it started. You know, could you imagine that was 4 years ago now? You're sitting in an office, 2 years maybe of experience in a job that's outside of sports, and all of a sudden your name is getting out there for, point shaving. Yeah, I'd be cutting a deal very quickly.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you all remember, but a few episodes back, we talked about how wire fraud, the charge itself, does not necessarily mean that you exchanged money.
Mm-hmm.
Committing or attempting to commit a crime using electronic means, and I'm oversimplifying it. So let's talk about the wire fraud charges, because I think Mark asked about that earlier, or somebody asked about that earlier, right? So every time Sugar Shane, who was charged with wire fraud, or one of his straw bettors placed a bet, they were electronically signing an agreement with the sportsman. And so they had, that's wire, quote unquote. But also, here's the evidence for it. Every time Shane allegedly used his phone to coordinate bribe payments, each text message is a separate use of a wire, quote unquote. Also, the FaceTime calls that we talked about earlier. But then also, they did do some bank transfers using Zelle and Cash App.
Okay. Good old
Yeah.
Zell.
Yeah, okay. Good old Zell. All right.
So the moral of the story is only have face-to-face conversations and hand cash.
Or use carrier pigeons. I mean,
Yeah.
or
Oh,
use carrier pigeons. Yeah.
I just, there's a part of me that I'm like, as soon as somebody involves somebody else, it always reminds me of two can keep a secret if one of them is dead.
Yep. All right. So, thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Friday Froster, where we talked about the alleged rigging of college basketball games. Now, this story is actually brand new. The indictment just came out last week. I think it was January 15th. So this will be a developing story you'll start to see everywhere, and stay tuned. I'm sure that there's more to come. All right, as we wrap up, what do you guys think? Anything else you want to say about this particular story?
Well, Kelly would be all over this because we're talking about gambling.
Yep. Boy, would she.
I don't have anything else about the story. I do say, everybody stay warm this weekend. It seems like this snowstorm is hitting the entire country all at once, or just about all of it.
Yeah.
Got my
It reminds me of an
I do.
Space heater.
Made sure all of our children's vehicles had their gas tank filled up. I mean, I have not been outside yet today, and I am not anticipating.
Oh, it's only 62 here right now, so we haven't gotten any kind of cold yet.
62. Please,
Yeah,
my family wearing shorts.
Oh, I was in shorts and t-shirt and rebuilding my deck for the past week.
Let's see. My phone is telling me it is -8, and it feels like -28 outside right now.
Wow.
No.
No, we're not having, it's too cold for us to get snow right now.
Huh? Wait, how is it too cold? Wait, wait.
There is zero precipitation.
Oh.
Yeah, like I think if it like think about like Antarctica. It's always cold up there, but it's not like it's constantly snowing.
Okay. Fair point. Fair.
Well, I know there's got to be a scientific reason.
Rob and I both are like, this does not compute at all.
Because the air becomes too dry to produce significant precipitation. That's why it doesn't snow when it gets really cold.
Oh, wow. You learn something new every day, because I did not know. Well, and I've never lived in a cold climate, so yeah.
Is that a heartbeat?
Stephanie says, "Stay safe, everyone." That was a slip of a button. That was.
Oh. Take care.
Says that sucks, and I don't know. I think this might be either Stephanie or Carol. I don't know. I can't see.
Love it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
So Mark has confirmed it.
Support.
That was a very scientific response, Mark.
Okay, there we go. Okay, humidity
low.
Okay,
Humidity low, no snow.
Okay,
I don't understand low humidity either.
Y'all are the best.
Oh, all right. So everyone, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week with another story.
Bye.
See ya.